Hello again, friends, and you are my friends, and welcome to your ITFC match preview show. I am your host, the Gov. Looking forward to discussing, well, a few ITFC things with you. Not obviously all that much to talk about, let's be honest, as we wind down the season. The disappointing season it's been, but we wind it down nonetheless. And of course, next year we expect it to be busy. Well, there's more games for a start. That's going to make it more busier, but also hopefully. Well, actually, no, not hopefully. Hopefully this time next year, things will be done and dusted, but things have been wrapped up with plenty of time, is where I was going with that sentence. Don't forget, we are with Stowmarket Osteopaths. Don't live life in pain. Give Freddie a call on 01449 613 633. That's Stowmarket Osteopaths, 01449 613 633. You have to excuse the cough. Sweet. Got a bit of a cough, so I'm trying to keep it suppressed because I'm not very well again. I know. Those that watch us regularly will say, what, again? Yeah, again. But get your thoughts, your feelings, your opinions, your team predictions, your score predictions. And I'm going to kick things off tonight with a question you don't often discuss, maybe, is your most underrated player of the year. So everyone always asks you, who's your player of the year? Well, there's a few leading candidates in that question. But I want your most underrated player of the year, who's had a really good season or a fairly good season, sort of gone under the radar, do you feel, in the town squad? Can be anyone you like. Give us your reasons why in our chat. And if you're watching on Catch Up, FTA, comment for that algorithm. We are joined this evening, not by Matt Phillips, no, by the one, the only, Mr. Ben Adams. Welcome back, Ben. How are you?
Really good, man. Yeah, really, really good. Looking forward to talking a bit of town. It's been a little while, and lots to say, I think. Lots to say.
Yeah, absolutely. It's been a little while. You've been busy, and obviously the season's been a bit disappointing, as I said, at the top of the show. And obviously it's all done and dusted now. 2-2 draw away at Everton. What were your thoughts reflecting back on that trip to Goodison Park and that point that we took away from there?
It's that time of the season where I look forward to the next season. So I'm thinking, what have we got left in this now that we know there's no hope? And I saw a lot of fight. I saw a lot of guile, a lot of courage.
Yeah.
I don't think at any point this season we've stopped trying. And I saw that against Everton. With a team that's kind of down and out, you kind of got no right to go and have a good performance like that. But we did. So for me, it left me feeling really hopeful for what's to come.
Yeah, absolutely agree with you. Particularly being 2-0 down, showed a real resolve.
Yeah,
and character when there's not anything to play for. Obviously, you're getting bits and pieces. I think I saw maybe in George Hurst on the TWT website where it was like it's pride we're playing for. All those sorts of comments that start coming out at this point of the season when it's all done and dusted. But it's one thing playing for pride. It's another thing when you're 2-0 down away from home in an atmosphere, one of their last remaining games. That shows real character, real resolve. And what we were about for the last couple of seasons, really, wasn't it? That sort of that type of never say die attitude.
Yeah, it's good to know that even that DNA, that sort of fundamental thing that flows underneath all the results, the culture of the club, the culture that McKenna and Ashton are trying to go. You still see it, and you usually see what you're made of in the worst of it. And the worst has already happened against a really good Everton team. It was funny when we played Everton at home. That's when I kind of knew we'd be in trouble, because at the time they were the whipping boys, they were the ones in danger. And they absolutely blew us away. And I'm thinking, if that's the worst of the Premier League, we're in trouble. But back at their place, and we got their last one at their place. Showed a lot of character, made me really proud. Actually, it was a joy to look at the actual highlights in the evening and want to watch them. Put it that way.
Yeah, absolutely. And I asked the chat, so I'm going to ask you as well now. Most underrated player of the year, not a typical question you normally ask. So I've gone for a little bit off script there in terms of. It's not the normal question. Who is your most underrated player of the year from this season so far?
This is a player who I think hasn't had as much time as he should have. Okay. I think that every time he has played, he has been, for me, absolutely faultless. Showed a hell of a lot of character, has adapted to the bigger games as well as the what you might call medium or lower team Premier League games. When he comes on, he's consistent. You know what you're getting, and he never drops below the very worst of 7. For me, that player is Luke Wolfenden. I think he has thrown under the radar. The amount of money we've spent on Greaves and O'Shea, for all the talk of how much Davis is worth and he might go, for everyone, the Axel, the Rolls Royce. I think he's really, really underrated. And in a different way that Burgess is. Now, Burgess hasn't got time in the team. He should have, and we should be keeping him. But everyone's reacted to that. Like, why is he not here? We should be keeping this, but he's quality. He's great every time he comes on. No one ever says that about Wolfie. He's very under the radar. He consistently comes on and does really, really well. So if I may offer a sports car analogy, because Christ knows we're on out of time for that, O'Shea and Gree just spent big money on them with big expectations. They're the sports car in the drive that's cost a lot of money, but it doesn't ever do quite what it's worth. You think, why did I spend all that money on this? It looks good on paper, but you hope for a bit more. Wolfie is that kind of Ford S-Max. Bit of performance, solid, reliable, doesn't turn heads, but does the job. And he always gets you there, and it does what it says on the tin. And I love a player like that. He's kind of the opposite of Enciso, where you have the massive expectations, and every now and again you get bowled away. But then you go through the 4 or 5 games where he's just running into players. Wolfie just does his job. He comes on, he does well. He'll be subbed off for 3 games. He'll come on, he'll do well. He'll come on at 70 minutes. He'll play great. He'll shore up the defence. He's so underrated, and I think he's one of our best assets. So I was really pleased when he signed that. I think it was a 2-year contract extension. I think he signed. I was really, really, really happy about that, because in the Championship, you can build a defence around a man like that, in my opinion.
Yeah, no, it's a great shout. And Trevor says Wolf has never let us down when he's played, and I think you're absolutely spot on the money. I get where you're going with the analogy, and I know you love a good car analogy. I'm kind of with Colin. I think O'Shea's been immense and is worth it, every penny. But I think what you're saying there really is that Wolfie, and he's not old, but in the car sense, reliable. He's constantly reliable. He never breaks down. He never lets you down. If the petrol light is past the E for empty, it goes and it goes and it goes.
It'll get you to the petrol station, even if you have to crawl there. And you're right about O'Shea. He has been immense, and I might argue that's a different kind of shout, which is things like Player of the Season.
Agreed.
That's a different category. This is about the one who isn't celebrated, the one who's unseen, the one that is actually so consistently good you actually just stop noticing. And
I agree.
Wolf, everything. And you think, I love him because the journey he's been on in this town team, from being too depressed to coming to training, to going out, to wanting to move, to coming in and getting a 2-year contract extension by the finest young coach we've had in the generation, says a lot about the man.
I can't speak highly enough about Wolfie. Obviously, I think what you're referring to there is obviously back under Lambert or back in his earlier career. Where it looked for a time where he may be heading out of the football club.
Close.
So he's really, and to continuously do what he's done this year. I'm with you there. Burgess is another player getting a lot of love in the chat, as he does. I think you pick up on your point there. You said about he's a player we should be keeping. So you'd be going all in on trying to give Cam Burgess the extended contract.
I Greaves has a higher ceiling. We all get that. O'Shea has been immense. But if all of a sudden Leeds or one of the or Burnley came back in, for O'Shea, and we sold him for 10 million, I'd be thinking, but if you told me we were starting next season with Wolfie and Burgess, I'd be like, good, that's great. For a Championship side, that's massive. But everyone kind of knows it about Burgess, and everyone's really disappointed that it looks like he'll be moving on because he just can't get the game time. Maybe Wolfie is actually a part of that problem, that actually, because he is good, he tends to be the one that's shuttled in if Wolves and Burgess are in, if O'Shea and Greaves are injured, or there's a different formation or tactic. Wolfie is that third option, which doesn't leave a lot for Burgess. But look, I'm saying if you're going to mount a massive title challenge next year, I'll be having all 4 of them. 4 really great centre backs. I tell you, I don't think there's another team in the Championship that can come anywhere near to saying that. I would even argue this year, what's going up, we would start the Championship with the best defence in the league and with depth. So I would be disappointed if Burgess leaves, but we're doing all right back there. We're doing all right.
I agree, and I think I mentioned on Sunday's show in regards to, I'm just not quite sure how long you'd give Burgess in his new contract. So obviously, you hope to go straight back to the Premier League, and then are you then looking to bring in a centre half? If you are, which one's going to be moving out? Would it be Burgess out of those other 3? Out of those players, if it is, you don't really want to reward him with a 2 or 3 year deal, because then you've kind of got his remaining contract, and you've got to try and bring another centre half on and move him out. But I get what you're saying, because I actually, as you were speaking, I was thinking to myself, those 4 as a 4, they're so interchangeable, but they interchangeable in a really good way, because you're getting, you know, a quality player coming for a quality player. So if one's suspended or one's injured or one's out of form, you've got quality and depth, and that 4 players is a real strength, particularly in the Championship.
The team's taken away the momentum and the magic of what happened last year, because it was a bit of an anomaly. The teams that tend to get promoted and the teams that are the best in the Premiership have a player as good as them on the bench. So how many times in the Premier League team did they replace a £60 million player with a £60 million player? And we would get to about 60 minutes, and what killed us all season was the quality of the subs of the opposing team. Taking away our own fact that I think we left it too late and things, that they would bring on subs as good, if not better, than the first team, and we couldn't do that. Our subs would be League One players. So I'm thinking, if you need to take off Greaves, you have Wolf. If you need to take off O'Shea, you have Burgess. So you have 2 brilliant players supporting the first team players who are as good. And I would argue, I'm just going to argue this season, little that we've seen of Burgess, he's done a lot better than Greaves for me. We're pot committed with Greaves, and we've got to justify the expenditure. 100% get that, 100%, and it probably came with a lot of assurances of appearances and things, barring awful form. Greaves has just been not shit enough to be dropped consistently, but he's not been very good for me. And every time Burgess has come, I'm like, it changes. It all settles down a little bit.
I think it wouldn't be too hard to have the conversation that perhaps Burgess has settled into Premier League life a little bit quicker or a little bit easier than Greaves. But equally, it also wouldn't be too difficult to have the argument that your conceptions about the players are in completely different places. You sign a player for money. You know, this is a football club, by the way, that had £4.5 million as its record transfer for the bulk of my life.
Matteo Sorini, 25 years ago. Yeah.
Exactly. So when you spend any money on a player, the expectation is raised, particularly at this football club, because of past history. And I think the conception in your mind is, we spent big money on this player. We're expecting straight away, robotic 8, 9, 10 up. And so when it doesn't happen,
you're right.
Your fairy tale love affair with a player that's got you there can also play into that conception of how you see things. And next year, I'm looking forward to seeing what Greaves does back in the Championship.
Yeah,
get his feet under the table, as it were. You know, it's really a bit like O'Shea has, in the sense of get him, feet on the ground, feet under the table, and get people loving seeing him in a town shirt, get people loving what he can do, and then you go again, because he's got so much ability. That's not the question.
No question.
It's just making that initial step up. And
you're right about the attachment to worth, that we set our expectations higher. And I've often found in life that the moments I feel I'm most let down and disappointed tend to have a relationship with what my expectations were of the thing. So we have no expectations maybe of Burgess, because he's already part of the squad, and his value is probably nothing. It's probably a tenth of what Greaves is. So maybe we're a little bit more forgiving, and that we see a bit better, and with higher expectations need to come higher performances. So you're right with what you say. It's the maybe a little bit of Amari Hutchinson syndrome. You spent 20 million. And he's one of, I think, a few players who's not moved forward this season, and we're all a bit disappointed for it because of the attached value.
Because you can go onto YouTube and you can watch Burgess's goal against Coventry last season, and that feeling, that endorphin, that that feel good factor that you get from watching it comes flooding back. So you're attached to that player. The same way you can watch any number of Amari highlights from last season, and that feeling comes flooding back. And you know, that is what relegation maybe can do for a player. You know, you can get yourself back settled, and away you go. Colin says we'll play lots next season. He also says Townsend could be an underrated player of the year.
It's a good shout.
Good shout. Cam Burgess, most underrated, most improved player, says Simon. Lots of those coming in. Colin says Palmer will be immense in the Championship for me. Yeah.
We got there eventually. It's interesting. One of the things that Crunch used to say that I thoroughly agree with is that a really good goalkeeper gets you 12 points a season.
Correct.
And it's very, very true. But a really shit one costs you, I think, double that on a really bad one. the points he cost us is, and it's ironic, isn't it, that even after Palmer came in and as good as he's been, you could actually argue our form has been worse on paper, and yet you look at him in the goal and he's so assured and he's so good, but he's got 10 men in front of him that are just nowhere near the standard to stay in there, so you can't blame it. But Palmer in the Championship under McKenna with Wolfie, O'Shea and Greaves and ideally Burgess in front of him. I mean, fucking good luck getting through that as a Championship team. That's a hell of a backline. And Axel when he's fit.
Completely agree. You mentioned, obviously, expectations. You mentioned Rich. I see on social media he's got his tickets. I know you've got your tickets. Ed Sheeran tickets for Syndic Holidays tomorrow.
I'm just going to correct that. My wife has her tickets. I have about as much desire to see Ed Sheeran sing as I do to buy a Norwich season ticket. So that my wife loves him. It's just not for me. But I love the fact he's associated with our club.
Yeah, well, this is it. Absolutely. But Syndic Holidays can obviously buy that or can try and access or buy tickets tomorrow in the priority window. Yeah. So I wanted to ask, are you looking forward to seeing Ed, finally grace Portman Road? But judging by that last sentence of you'd rather watch Norwich, I'm going to go ahead and guess the answer would probably be no. But because you'd like to go along with your wife and support your wife,
my wife is taking her lovely sister and her awesome niece.
You're not even going. You're not even invited.
What, a night in over there? I'll take a night in. Thank you very much. We'll have a boys' night, me and Ellis. But it's not for me. But it will be good for people to see a good performance at Portman Road finally. So I'm happy that they're going. And it's any way that gets my wife into the club. God knows I've tried to convince her enough to come and watch Ipswich. She's just not interested in the same way that vice versa. But I love the fact he's finally doing it. Home crowd. Everyone's going to love him. I think when my wife got on this morning, she was person number 2,000 out of 25,000 that were in a queue. So you get a sense of how many people are. This is before it's even gone to season ticket holders, So it's good. It's good.
Well, I won't be bothering. Not because I'm not a massive not because I'm not an Ed Sheeran fan or because I wouldn't like to go, just because I can't be bothered. How many people this morning? I mean, that's a lot of waiting around at a laptop screen. Who's got time for that? Who's got time for that? Work's got to be done. All right, but we are back at Portman Road this weekend. Obviously, we are entertaining Brentford. It is a game just for pride, but it is a home game, another chance to grab a home win, get 3 points. Are you excited heading into these still, Ben? Are you now just wishing the season would be over? Where are you?
I think it puts a different lens on it. I think it's very strange. I've actually enjoyed, this is going to sound really odd. I find myself enjoying the experience of a game more that we're actually relegated because I just don't have the damn tension anymore. So it just allows me to say, okay, what's done is done. What are we building towards? Let's look forward with enthusiasm. What's McKenna thinking? What players are improving? Who's showing a bit of guts? Who's showing a bit of guile? So I kind of go into these games with a different lens. And Brentford's one of them teams we want to emulate. Let's not forget. Like, if everything goes right for us, and I mean like everything, in 5 years we're Brentford. That we dare to dream that we could be anywhere near that. And they're the ones who've gone up and down, yo-yoed lower leagues and they've established themselves. And they're a really good team. But you look at their bench and their bench is worth, 130, 140 million pounds. That's just players they can bring on. So even at the mid to lower level Premier League team, you see that difference in class. But because it is Brentford and not Man City, I'm hoping for a result. Let's go and do something and say, here's why you should buy your season ticket. Here's a club with character. Here's a club who, what was the thing we said last season? We're a club that doesn't know when they're killed. They don't know when they're dead. And you can show that at the end of a season as well. We're down, but we ain't out. And I think a good performance, that there's a lot of feel-good factor that can come from that, I think.
Yeah, Lynn says she fancies she's fancy it. I think it's going to be a win on Saturday, says
Lynn. I hope so. That'd be great.
Yeah, where's Bodysuit Guy? Let's get it out there now. Now McKenna needs to make the starting 11 the same team that started in the 4-3 game last year. Old school, the Championship guys who know how to play as a team, says Bodysuit Guy. Colin said, I don't want the end of the season. Let's get some points and hopefully get some momentum. Whoever says Brentford, a very good side and shows what can be achieved. Sort of echoing back into your comments there. On the back of Bodysuit Guy's comment there, I'm not quite sure if you're like my team or not like my team, but here's my 11 and you can tell me if you disagree. So obviously Palmer's in goal. We're both big Palmer fans. I've gone for a back four of Axel, O'Shea, Greaves and Davis. What are your thoughts on that as a back four?
Axel O'Shea. I'm trying to compare it to what I sent you today. I mean, yes, and Davis is a funny one because I've been disappointed with him. But again, I don't think people are going to go for him, which means I want to see him playing games and maybe getting some form of momentum going into next season because he's immense in the Championship. So was it Axel on one side? Yes, agree.
Yeah. O'Shea, Greaves, and Davis. I think you were toying with the idea of putting Wolf in, but Wolf's a right-footed player. Greaves is a left-footed player, and I don't know if you'd see two right-footed players. I'm 99% sure you wouldn't see two right-footed players.
I think you're right, but I think it's because I like Wolf. And again, they're so interchangeable. Like the brain says, you're right. Go with Greaves. We've spent the money. We're trying to develop him. Get your feet under the table. Give him some momentum. Give him the chance because his ceiling supposedly is a lot higher. So on paper, yes, yours is a selection that absolutely works. But I do. It might be Wolfenden's last chance in the Premier League. The way I think it will go for him potentially, and I just want to see him start as many games as he can. And he's a Ford S-Max man. He'll give you a good performance.
Yeah. All right. Let us know your teams in the chat. Let us know your thoughts in the chat in regards to the 11 I'm reading or the comments that Ben's giving back. My midfield two, with an eye of perhaps looking forward, is Kayus. I think most fans, if not all fans, well, not all fans. I don't think Matt wants to sign him particularly. I might be wrong on that. Don't quote me. Would want to sign Kayus. I want to sign Kayus, and if it's possible, great. So I'm playing Kayus and Jack Taylor in midfield on Saturday, just because I want to see what this dynamic looks like. I want to see what they combine. Like at the Premier League level, could that be a midfield till you take forward in the Championship? Could they work together? Which I know is a big thing to take out Sam Morsey. He's a skipper, he's the heartbeat, and he's been playing fairly decently in recent weeks.
Recently, yeah.
But I just want to look at that as a midfield too. And equally, of course, if Kayust is signing off, these next two home games will be his last two home games. So another reason why I want to play Kayust. But that's who I'm going. That's who I would toy with.
I hear that because there's a bit of heart in that. It's like you want to see, the best player as long as you can before it's signed off. It's like having like goodbye sex in a relationship or something. If you're breaking up, it's like one last hurrah to see the quality and commit it to memory. But I get it. Kayust is a thought experiment for the best player on the day, but Taylor and Kayust together is not a combination that's going to exist next year. No. So as far as continuity is concerned, I don't know, because again, I don't think Morsey's going to play a massive part next year either. The money's going to be spent in midfield. I don't think Kayust is going to drop down. He's got too high a ceiling. And there'll be too many clubs looking at him. Taylor, yes, because he will play a bigger part. He had a really interesting interview, didn't he? It was on TWT.
He did.
Really interesting interview, and I like him. I was 6 feet in front of him on promotion night as he was cracking beers. I just got great memories of him. So it was as a thought experiment. Yeah, as for tomorrow's game, for Saturday's game, yes, those two. But if I'm thinking forward ahead of that, who's left in our midfield that's going to be here? Well, Taylor, Morsey, but again, I think Morsey's doing this now, unfortunately. Maybe I would actually say Morsey and Taylor.
Okay, yeah, that's fine. You can say
and
that.
It's Morsey. It'll be Morsey's last Premier League game, second to last Premier League game at home in the Premier League. He'll never play in the Premier League again. So he's earned the right to get every minute out of it he can for me, and he's still going to put in a good performance.
All right, the three behind Delap, and it is Delap I'm playing. You can challenge me on that in a second if you don't agree with it. Is Jack Clark on the left, Connor Chaplin, and Amari Hutchinson on the right. Might seem harsh to leaving Ciso out, but I like Connor. Obviously, Chaplin will be here next year. I'd like to see Connor Chaplin play. Jack Clark, I want to continue to the same way Greaves, get his feet under the table. And in recent weeks, we're starting to see a little bit of Jack Clark come through from his Sunderland days, albeit without perhaps that final moment, be it an assist or a goal. But we are seeing that player emerge. And of course, Amari after last week just dazzled on the right hand side and really gave their fullback a torrid time. If you said to me, no, I want Enciso into the Chaplin, I wouldn't argue too much. It's just I've gone because I like Connor Chaplin and he'll be here next year.
Yes, and yes. For all the reasons you've said, Jack Clarke is getting better and better, continuing his development, which is great to see. Chaplin, I just want him to have more minutes because Christ knows he's deserved it, and he's always looked busy when he comes on. And Amari Hutchinson, yes, again, he's so all of a sudden, maybe it's a bit of the pressure off, who knows, but all of a sudden he's just on an incline upwards, which is really nice to see. And those three are going to be behind the striker next season, unless you go out and spend £15 million on someone. But they're all going to be at the club, and they're all on an upwards trajectory. Whereas Chaplin's kind of just what he is. But yes, I completely agree with you. And you see, so yeah, okay, he needs to play 5 games before he does his wonder goal. So I think that might have been it last week. It was wonderful, but he frustrates me more than he amazes me. So if we don't see him again, I'm like, well, okay, well, we're not going to see him again anyway. So maybe as a 60-minute sub, just run around for half an hour. But yeah, they're good choices.
Okay, and my striker is Delap. Is he your striker?
Why is he your striker? Why have you made that decision?
For the very same reason I'm sort of playing Cajuste, I guess. The heart says, maybe we can look for that long-term combination. Obviously, in Cajuste's case with Taylor, but in Delap's case, I know he's not going to be here next year. So I'd love to see Delap for 90 minutes this Saturday, 90 minutes against West Ham, sign off on what has been the most surprising, tantalizing ride that I didn't expect to go on with a player ever. Like when we signed him, when we did the transfer shows this time last year, or whenever it was, we actually signed him. I didn't expect this at all. I didn't expect to fall in love as much as you have, for him to be as good as he has, for me to be sitting here and thinking I've seen the future England number 9 and actually believe it. I mean, many times as Town fans, we can fool ourselves into thinking this is the next big thing. Connor Wickham, Josh Carson, etc., etc.
Jack Lancaster, all these.
This guy is going to be the next England number 9.
It's what's called the real deal. I agree.
Yeah,
and I want to see a youth team player from Man City who didn't do it in the Championship. He's like a meal in a restaurant that comes out. You look at it thinking, oh, God. And then you taste it, you're like, oh my God, that's good, that's tasty. He is that striker. However, I don't want to see him on Saturday.
No? Why?
Because Hurst will be here next season, and I'm more focused forward than I am with now. We're not in a place where we're putting him in a shop window where we're adding 2 million to every goal. He's going to reach his goal cap. So it's only if you're more focused at the joy of the moment, you pick the app, understandably. And there's an argument for that. But for me, Hurst, because he's a really complete footballer, and he's gotten better and better very quietly as the season's gone on when he's actually fit enough to play. The only danger is he's made of biscuits. So, it's like he'll go out for a header and he'll be out till December. So, but I would like to just see, what does next year look like? Incentivize me to now go and spend £500 I don't necessarily have easily. And I want to see what's coming. And Hurst would allow me to do that. So purely utilitarian. There's nothing heart about it. It's pure that, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. Yeah. I've been there myself over the last couple of weeks, but now it's coming down to the final countdown. Yeah, the fan in me wants to see the lap. And I genuinely mean it. For 90 minutes, both last, but the last remaining home games. I know I'm not going to get the full 90, but just because, as I say, for the reasons I already mentioned. All right, before we do score prediction, Ben, don't forget we are partnered with the East Anglian Air Ambulance. If you want to help save lives, of course you do, and have the chance to win £1,000 every week, of course you do. Play the East Anglian Air Ambulance Lottery. By playing just £1 each week, you're helping to keep their yellow helicopters flying. The East Anglian Air Ambulance Lottery creates 18 winners every week with prizes ranging from £50 to £1,000. Over 18s only. T&Cs apply. Link in our description. But please, whatever you do, please gamble responsibly.
I know people that have benefited from that service, the East Anglian Air Ambulance, and they're absolutely brilliant. What it takes to keep one of those damn things in the air is quite immense. And you got to hope that if ever you get into bother or someone you love does, you want to know that there's an ambulance somewhere. And I've known a few people, they will land anywhere they can find a space to come and take people when the cards are against them. It's such a great service, and the pilots, who I kind of know from a friend of a friend, They love their job, and they will work any hour that God sends in order to do it. They're on standby on like Christmas morning, so do that. They're a great organisation.
Yeah, agreed. I was at a presentation that somebody gave from the I think it was a volunteer from the EAAA, Anglian Air Ambulance, and the amount it takes to keep it going was just mind-boggling.
Yeah,
and yeah, I can't echo your thoughts enough there. But yes, here's Anglian Air Ambulance Lottery. If you would like to take the link out, but gamble responsibly. Right, score prediction then, Ben. What is your score prediction for this Saturday, 3 p.m. on the road, Ipswich Town and Brentford?
I'm going to go with, I think, was it Lynn or Linda who said earlier? I can't remember the name.
Lynn.
I'm gonna echo Lynn's feeling and sentiment that I do feel we are going to win on the weekend, and I think it's going to be something like 2 or 3-1. It just feels like it, and I don't really know why, but I think we are going to add to we're going to get another victory before the season's out. I think it's going to be Saturday.
Excellent. Well, Colin says Ipswich 2, Brentford 2. Obviously, Lynn earlier in the show fancied a Town win. Whatever your score prediction, do let us know in the chat. Paul says 2-2. If you watch it on catch up, it's never too late to put your score. Well, it is too late. I suppose after the game would be too late. Don't put one in then, because we'll know about it and we'll know you're trying to pull the fast one. But yeah, if you're watching on catch up, do leave your score prediction. But until the weekend, until the match reaction show, this has been your match preview show. Great to have this man back on the screen once again. That is a benefit of the Championship next year. We're going to see more of this man because there's going to be more football, more goals, more moments.
Your poor viewers.
No, they love you.
Thank you for the invite. It's been a pleasure. And I know we're not at the end yet, but you've again just kept us all informed and kept us in it. And this must be quite a hard job for you to do and maintain the enthusiasm when we're having a really difficult year, but always feeling connected. It's funny that I've always felt I don't want to watch Match of the Day, but I do want to listen to Talking Town. So that's,
Thank you. It's been difficult this year because I've not been well. And for those and I'm literally, as people would tell you in the chat, I feel like I'm ill every other day at the moment. And it wasn't that long ago, Matt was hosting because I was unwell. And here I am again. And but thank you for your kind words. And it's I do it because I enjoy it, and I do it because the community is fantastic. As you know, being somebody who's been with me for the ride, it's a great community we've built here. It's a really good interactive community. They let you know when you're wrong. They remember the receipts when you're wrong, but it's great fun. Yeah, just ask Matt in the Wilderness. I think it's tonight actually.
Every ship needs a captain, so we sail into the Championship with you at the wheel.
Yeah, well, hopefully I'll steer it better than I did a boat on the Norfolk Broads. But anyway, that's another story for another day. Until then, this man's Ben Adams. I'm the host. Thanks for watching. Take care. God bless. All the best. Bye-bye.